Another devastating day in Gaza. At least 16 people have been killed and over 70 injured after Israeli missiles struck the European Gaza hospital in Khan Yunis. Gaza's civil defense says many bodies are still being recovered, with some scattered around the hospital area. Rescue workers were also reportedly targeted during a second round of strikes. Israel claims the hospital was hiding a Hamas command center, though no evidence has been provided. This was the second hospital strike in Khan Yunis in just 24 hours. Earlier, 2 people were killed at the Nasser medical complex, including journalist Hassan Aslay, who was recovering from burn injuries. Doctors Without Borders has now suspended services at the facility, its second strike in just 7 weeks. Hospital workers say they're treating injured civilians around the clock, calling the site a civilian hospital under direct attack. French President Emmanuel Macron has condemned Israel's actions, calling them shameful and suggesting the EU consider sanctions.
C'est un drame humanitaire et c'est inacceptable. Moi, mon boulot, c'est de tout faire pour que ça s'arrête. J'ai été l'un des seuls dirigeants à aller à la frontière, à Al-Arish, en Égypte,
il y a peu,
avec le président Sisi. J'ai vu des femmes, des enfants blessés, une femme avec la colonne vertébrale qui avait été brisée, qui a passé 6 mois sans soins. J'ai vu des femmes qui, les cicatrices n'étant pas refermées, disaient « je veux retourner à Gaza ». Et j'ai vu toute l'aide que la France, tant d'autres pays, achemine, qui était à Al-Arish, qui était là, bloquée par les Israéliens. Et donc je le dis avec force, ce que fait aujourd'hui le gouvernement de Benjamin Netanyahou est inacceptable.
But Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the war will continue, even if a hostage deal is reached. The targeting of journalists has also intensified. Eslay, who was killed at Nasser Hospital, had contributed to international media and was director of Alam 24 News. Israel accused him of Hamas links, something he denied before his death. Since the war began in October 2023, at least 178 journalists have been killed, according to Gaza's media office. Gaza's health ministry says 36 hospitals have been struck, violations that experts say breach the Geneva Conventions. The humanitarian catastrophe is worsening. The UN's top humanitarian official, Tom Fletcher, delivered one of the most forceful speeches in recent memory at the Security Council, accusing Israel of deliberately imposing inhumane conditions on Palestinians.
Mr. President, this council has adopted resolutions that demand all parties to the conflict comply with international humanitarian law and protection of civilians, including humanitarian personnel. A reminder that Israel also has clear obligations under international humanitarian law. It must treat civilians humanely, with respect for their inherent human dignity. It must not forcibly transfer, deport, or displace the civilian population of an occupied territory. As the occupying power, it must agree to aid and facilitate it. So for anyone still pretending to be in any doubt, the Israeli-designed distribution modality is not the answer. It practically excludes many, including people with disabilities, women, children, the elderly, the wounded. It forces further displacement. It exposes thousands of people to harm. It sets an unacceptable precedent for aid delivery, not just in the OPT, but around the world. It restricts aid to only one part of Gaza, while leaving other dire needs unmet. It makes aid conditional on political and military aims. It makes starvation a bargaining chip. It is a cynical sideshow, a deliberate distraction, a fig leaf for further violence and displacement. If any of that still matters, have no part in it. Mr. President, for the record, we have tried. The UN has met 12 times, and again this morning, with the Israeli authorities to discuss this proposed modality.
His remarks come just days after a report by the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, which says 93% of Gaza's population is facing food shortages and nearly 250,000 people are already in famine-like conditions. By September, nearly 500,000 people are expected to reach catastrophic hunger levels. In the midst of this, the US and Israel are promoting a new aid plan, but critics say it's just a rebranding exercise. According to Israeli and US officials, aid distribution in southern Gaza will be managed by private contractors contractors, not the UN. But aid agencies say the plan is meant to weaponize relief supplies, push Palestinians from north to south Gaza, and ultimately facilitate permanent displacement. Against this grim backdrop, US President Donald Trump is on a Gulf tour, but notably skipping Israel. In Riyadh, Trump confirmed $142 billion in arms deals with Saudi Arabia, calling Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman an incredible man.
A great place. What a great place, but more importantly, what great people. I want to thank His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince, for that incredible introduction. He's an incredible man. Known him a long time now. There's nobody like him. Thank you very much. Appreciate it very much, my friend. And it's a tremendous honor to return to this beautiful kingdom and be welcomed back with such extraordinary generosity and warmth. I've never forgotten the exceptional hospitality showed to us by King Solomon, who's just, we talk about a great man. That is a great man. That is a great man, a great family.
He also announced the lifting of all US sanctions on Syria following the ousting of Bashar al-Assad. Trump said the sanctions had served their purpose, and he backed Syria's new president, Ahmed al-Sharaa, who is expected to meet this week.
Likewise, in Syria, which has seen so much misery and death, there is a new government that will hopefully succeed in stabilizing the country and keeping peace. That's what we want to see in Syria. They've had their share of travesty, war, killing, many years. That's why my administration has already taken the first steps toward restoring normal relations between the United States and Syria for the first time in more than a decade. And I'm very pleased to announce that Secretary Marco Rubio will be meeting with the new Syrian foreign minister in Turkey later this week. And very importantly, after discussing the situation in Syria with the Crown Prince, your Crown Prince.
This marks a major shift in US foreign policy. Trump says he supports a Saudi-Israel deal, but is no longer making it a condition.
Today, the Gulf nations have shown this entire region a path towards safe and orderly societies with improving quality of life, flourishing economic growth, expanding personal freedoms, and increasing responsibilities on the world stage. After so many decades of conflict, finally it is within our grasp to reach the future that generations before us could only dream about, a land of peace, safety, harmony, opportunity, innovation, and achievement right here in the Middle East. So beautiful. It's such a beautiful thing that's happening. I guess, the people that are here can't even really appreciate it because you see it happening, and it's when you come to a place that you haven't seen in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years that it's even more incredible. When I left office just over 4 years ago, that future seemed almost impossible, what you've done. Together we had obliterated the killers of ISIS. We wiped them out, terminated its founder and leader, al-Baghdadi. We had healed the divide in the Gulf Cooperation Council. It's a very big deal. And united the nations of the region to stand against the enemies of all civilization. We'd imposed unprecedented sanctions on Iran and starved the regime of resources to fund terror. They were unable to fund anything because they had no money left. They had no money. But the new administration came in and let them have a lot of money, and you saw what happened. It was not money well spent. And with the historic Abraham Accords that we're so proud of, all the momentum was aimed at peace, and it aimed very successfully. It's been an amazing thing, the Abraham Accords, and it's my fervent hope, wish, and even my dream that Saudi Arabia, a place I have such respect for, especially over the last fairly short period of time, what you've been able to do, but we'll soon be joining the Abraham Accords. I think it'll be a tremendous tribute to your country, and it will be something that's really going to be very important for the future of the Middle East. I took a risk in doing them, and they've been an absolute bonanza for the countries that have joined. The Biden administration did nothing for 4 years. We would have had it filled out. but it will be a special day in the Middle East with the whole world watching when Saudi Arabia joins us, and you'll be greatly honoring me, and you'll be greatly honoring all of those people that have fought so hard for the Middle East, and I really think it's going to be something special, but you'll do it in your own time, and that's what I want, and that's what you want, and that's the way it's going to be.
Saudi Arabia has accused Israel of genocide and is unwilling to normalize ties under current conditions. Instead, the US is focusing on deepening ties with Gulf partners, holding back-channel talks with Iran, and even supporting a ceasefire with the Houthis, all without Israeli involvement. Meanwhile, West Bank violence and Gaza bombardment continue, and while diplomacy plays out in palaces and conference halls, hospitals in Gaza run on empty supplies, children go without food, and journalists die doing their jobs.